U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed in writing his plans for a 50% tariff on all copper imports into his country. He says the tariffs will take effect on August 1st. And we're now getting reaction from the federal government. The CBC's Sam Sampson is following the story from Washington. So, Sam, what more can you tell us about Trump's decision to put tariffs on copper imports?
Well, the U.S. president says that decision was made after a robust national security assessment. And that may be referring to a Section 232 investigation, which is meant to determine if imports are threatening national security here in the United States.
The U.S. just dropped a massive trade bomb. On July 10th, 2025, President Trump signed a decree slapping a 50% tariff on all imported copper, kicking in August 1. Global markets freaked out. Copper prices shot up to a record 5.95 cents a pound, spiking 13% in one day, the wildest jump ever. This isn't just Wall Street drama. It's hitting hard, from Canada's copper mines to factories across Asia and the US. Automakers, home builders, and green energy projects, they're all feeling the squeeze. Copper's the lifeblood of so much, and this tariff's like a punch to the gut. Canada's in a tough spot, staring down a $9 billion copper trade that's now at risk. Do they eat the cost or fight back before the US swings again? This isn't just a tariff. It's a game changer for North American trade. YouTube's not big on stuff like this, but we're here to tell it straight. If you're with us, smash that like button and subscribe. It helps us beat the algorithm and keep the truth coming. Thanks for the love. Trump says it's about national security. But let's talk numbers. The US brought in over 800,000 tons of copper last year, with a quarter from Canada. Now, half that supply is getting hit with a tax heavier than your average designer bag. The fallout? Copper futures on COMEX skyrocketed to $12,300 per metric ton, and the price gap between New York and London hit $1,600 a ton. That's an arbitrage opportunity traders dream about. This is big, and it's just getting started. Warehouses in New Orleans are buzzing, reporting a 40% jump in inbound shipments. Meanwhile, copper cathode stockpiles are vanishing from the London Metal Exchange as traders rush to grab what they can. The ripple effect? Manufacturers are bracing for chaos. Why? Because electric vehicles eat up copper, nearly 80 kilograms per car. Just a tiny bump, say 5 cents per pound, adds about $90 to every vehicle. And since July 8th, copper prices have skyrocketed by nearly $1 per pound. For giants like Ford and Tesla, that translates to millions in extra costs every single month. Ford has already warned suppliers, expect these charges in August invoices. And it's not just cars feeling the pain. Power grids need copper, tons of it. Literally. High-voltage transmission lines use about 5 tons per mile. The Biden administration's ambitious grid upgrade projects suddenly staring at massive budget gaps. Utilities are scrambling, some even weighing emergency rate hikes. The aerospace sector isn't immune either. One commercial aircraft packs over 250 kilometers of copper wiring. For Boeing and Bombardier, even a small price shift can blow up budgets by millions. Add this to defense projects already strained by overruns, and the military supply chain starts looking very vulnerable. And then there's renewable energy, the heart of net zero goals. A single wind turbine carries 4+ tons of copper, and solar panels rely on copper for durability and efficiency. Higher copper prices could delay projects, derail climate targets, and make green energy less economically viable. Industry voices warn the numbers no longer add up like they used to. Consumers? They're not escaping either. Cox Automotive estimates tariffs alone add $6,000 to a Canadian-built car. Slap on a 50% duty, and you're looking at a 5-figure surge. Housing isn't spared. Metal tariffs plus lumber restrictions have already tacked on $22,000 to the price of a new home. This isn't a what-if. It's happening right now. And Canada? They're not sitting idle. Prime Minister Mark Carney promises to defend Canadian businesses with every diplomatic and legal tool. But Ottawa isn't waiting for the WTO. Private companies are already pivoting. Teck Resources, one of Canada's mining giants, is rerouting copper away from US buyers and toward Asian smelters, hedging prices on the Shanghai exchange to sidestep US demand entirely. Quebec officials are courting buyers in Lima and Santiago, while export fees are being quietly waived to keep mines running and workers employed. Canada is building a whole new trade route on the fly.
Well, less than 2 weeks away from the deadline to get tariffs off steel and aluminum, U.S. President Donald Trump targets another metal.
Came out. Today we're doing copper. I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
In a fresh escalation of trade measures, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a 50% tariff on copper imports, aiming to boost domestic production. Copper prices surged over 13%, their biggest one-day gain since 1989. Following the announcement, in fact, the U.S. currently imports nearly half of its copper needs, primarily from Chile, Canada, and Peru. The tariff, set to take effect by end July, mirrors similar 50% duties already placed on steel and aluminum. U.S. copper miners gained on expectations of increased domestic demand.
There are tariffs on the finished product of copper. I am concerned that that tariff will affect us producing.
Things are heating up big time. Canada's copper game just got wild, and it's not just about metal, it's a full-on trade showdown. According to Statistics Canada, copper exports to Asia jumped 27% in Q2 2025, the biggest leap since 2015. South Korea and Japan are snapping up more copper, clogging up Canadian ports like Vancouver and Prince Rupert as ships reroute from US-bound terminals. Even before Trump's 50% copper tariff hit on July 10th, Ottawa tried to play nice by scrapping a planned digital services tax to cool things down. But boom, the White House slapped the tariff on anyway, and now trade insiders are whispering that pharmaceuticals might get hit with a 200% tariff if no deal's reached by July 22. Talk about escalation. Canada's the US's second biggest source of refined copper, with a lot of it starting in British Columbia's mines, zipping to smelters in Japan, China, or South Korea, then landing back in US factories as cathodes. This tariff's like throwing sand in the gears of that whole supply chain. Wall Street's freaking out. UBS says if the US global copper price gap stays above $1,000 through September, American manufacturers could be out $4.2 billion this quarter alone. That's enough to knock half a point off US GDP. Yikes. But Canada's not just sitting there, they're gearing up for a counterpunch. On July 22nd, Canada's ready to slap tariffs on $125 billion of US imports. Bay Street analysts are warning that could hit American exporters with a 4% blow to cross-border sales. Trade's already shifting. StatsCan says exports to non-US buyers spiked 25% in March, while US-bound shipments tanked 6%, the biggest trade gap in nearly a decade. People are fired up too. A global news poll in Montreal caught shoppers calling for a boycott of US goods, bringing back vibes from the 2018 metals war. Businesses aren't staying quiet either. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce is pushing Ottawa to double down on trade with Indo-Pacific countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. Even Unifor, Canada's biggest private sector union, is rallying for job protection and emergency funds to shield mining and refining communities from the fallout. They're worried a supply chain shift could mean permanent job losses if the government doesn't act fast. Copper's not just a metal, it's a power move, and Canada's playing to win. Yo, things are getting real messy. American manufacturers are scrambling, begging the US Department of Commerce for a break with over 200 petitions to exempt copper used in stuff like medical gear, electric grid parts, and transportation. Trade lawyers are saying it'll take months to sort through the pile, but by then, the damage might already be done. This isn't just about copper anymore. It's a domino effect hitting car lots, construction sites, factories, and even foreign governments. It's a make-or-break moment for North American trade. Will we rethink the system or watch it crumble, one metal at a time? The next 10 days are clutch. Will Washington ease up to dodge more inflation and supply chain nightmares, or will they go all in, betting voters are cool paying extra for national security? It's a high-stakes gamble, and everyone's watching. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. We read every single one. If you loved this video, smash that like button. It really helps us keep the good stuff coming. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a new drop. Want to stay in the loop? Check out our community tab for behind-the-scenes fun and updates. Thanks for hanging out with us. You're the real MVPs. Catch you in the next one.